Why are guns so important to Americans? To put forward a philosophical reason that hasn't been made yet, a lot of America's identity has to do with individualism and self-reliance. The country was founded in large part through guerrilla warfare and an armed citizenship, something that wasn't common at the time. In WW2, the conflict that catapulted the US to world power status, there was never any concern of an invasion because there was a rifle behind every blade of grass. People dismiss this concept nowadays, saying things like, militaries have nukes. Single quote. But look at how meaningless that is in Ukraine. Look at how influential a slightly armed populace was in the occupation of Iraq. Not saying this to argue for it, the other side of the balance sheet is the mass slaughter of innocent people, but I think it's only fair that the opposing point be recognized. If you live in a large metropolitan area, police response times are awful and criminals know it. I worked as a paramedic in a large city, and you could have a pizza delivered faster than the police would show up. The police aren't there to protect you, just to clean up. I was home in the middle of the day when two guys pulled in my driveway and kicked my back door in. They were in the house before the police dispatcher ever answered. They ran when they saw my shotgun. I've been to enough crime scenes to see what happens when people aren't armed and can't defend themselves. If you live in very rural areas, there may be one trooper assigned for an area the size of Delaware. Home invasions happen there as well, and you also have to deal with local wildlife. Bears, mountain lions, feral pigs, etc. Imagine being in your backyard and worrying about a mountain lion lurking nearby, or coming up on your deck. Bears can easily push a door in. Well, cops where I live took 5 hours to respond to an active home invasion where the intruders had guns. I live in the suburbs and there's a police station maybe 10 minutes away. Ever since that incident, it became clear that I was in charge of my defense and that I should not count on cops who will probably shoot me to defend me. Also, they are very fun. We never got to play with swords or halberd or anything cool. Big part of our history and culture, especially during the Revolution and westward expansion. Big emphasis on individualism and self-reliance. Because the private ownership of firearms is a big reason the U.S. exists as a country. On top of it, the Founding Fathers had a great distrust of government, even the new one they created. Plus, the people have always been the first line of defense, both in terms of person defense and national defense. Plus, city police departments weren't a thing outside of slave patrols in the South. In the U.S. 1838, and sheriffs patrolled the Kootenays and large areas in the territory's frontier. And even then, the Supreme Court has ruled several times that the sole duty of the police is to enforce laws, not to protect and serve us. Also, guns are the greatest equalizer that humans have ever created. They allow one to defend themselves against someone bigger, stronger, younger than them, and/or against numerous individuals looking to do them or their family harm. I think it's important to sane people because we have a culture of individualism and have a general mistrust of all power being in the hands of government. Other people have Charles Bronson fantasies. Not saying that doesn't happen ever, but it's rare. The only thing that equalizes my 5'5", 119 pounds wife against a thug that wants to harm her when I am not around. Only thing that gives my old ass a chance against 3 thugs. I think it's just a different perspective on priorities. Americans seem to prioritize individual rights and self over collective rights and safety. Just a huge cultural difference. Because 1776. How I look at it is that it was originally formulated with the idea that the weak can defend themselves with a weapon. Because Americans like to be able to defend themselves, property and family from threats. I'm from the UK, where we are supposed to just leave and call the cops if someone breaks into our home or risk assault charges. Also, mountain lions, bears, snakes, alligators and game hunting. Because guns exist in this world and I don't trust other people who have them. Especially those who get them illegally. Which is easier to do than you'd think. I want to be able to defend myself and my family if someone breaks in and they have a gun. Simple as. For me, it's because criminals will always have guns. Regardless of what regulations, bans or laws are put into place. Guns are way too easily accessible to criminals in the US. Even if guns were outright banned, they will not follow in laws or regulations. I am not going to put my life or my family's life in danger. Just because the powers that be aren't competent enough to understand that concept. This woman's testimony really explains it well. Susanna Gracia Hupp lost both her parents in a mass shooting in Texas in 1991. She is a survivor of that mass shooting and her tale is not the usual response you would hear about. It's worth a listen. Susanna Gracia Hupp testimony on Second Amendment. Our country exists because we separated from the most powerful empire on the planet and then fought a war against them. It's in our founding documents that the citizens have the right to keep and bear arms as a last resort to maintain our free country. If a people are not allowed to keep weapons, they are not free. Guns are a tool. They do not act. They do not kill. If you load a gun and put it down, it will stay that way forever or until something changes it. We do not have to depend on a government agent with a gun to protect us if we are attacked. I have the right to keep a weapon on my person and respond to an emergency and protect myself or others in seconds. I will never give up that right because anyone who would want to take it from me means to do me harm. The Whiskey Rebellion. It's so we the people can maintain a militia to fight back the government if it oversteps its bounds. We forgot that somewhere along the lines. And now the government constantly oversteps the lines and most of us don't care as long as we get our sports and politics. It's fear. Fear of others is the root cause. But that fear is heightened by the fact that the others are armed with firearms basically. Americans have been drawn into a personal arms race against their fellow Americans. Because once you give up a right, the government isn't ever gonna give it back to you, and it'd rather have the right and not need it than to lose it and find out I do.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.